Hey, apparently I'm live. I'm just having a cup of tea whilst I wait for 7:30 to roll around. I'm just going to have a little check that it can be seen as well. I think we've got a slight time delay, so yeah, can we be seen? Yes. Let's see if I can check some sound. Yeah, can we be seen? Yep, there's sound. Great, good-o. Okay, does it go via the Facebook link? I know, thrilling, isn't it? Sorry, I've got to check all these things out. I'll do a bit of waffling as well before we start, but yeah, that works. Oh, lovely. Wow. Well, working at the moment anyway. I do tend to have terrible tech demons, but there we go. We shall see. Okay, if you're tuning in to join me for a belly dance session in about 5 minutes' time, a couple of things you might want to just kind of grab before we start. First of all, a drink. I mean, I've got tea, but really water is the best thing to have on hand. Just anything you can sip. And basically, we won't really stop for a break. I'll just say drink water if you need to, really. The other thing, perhaps you might like to grab a scarf of some kind. So let me just show you mine. Ta-da, nice and shiny. So you do get the ones with coins on, which you're very welcome to wear. I just didn't want to wear a coin belt because I worried about the audio quality for you this evening. So yeah, hopefully we'll get the balance right with the audience, etc. Oh, I have a chat. Kerry, hello, Kerry, darling. Oh, lovely. Thank you, Kerry, for chatting. So I'm not talking to myself, so that's quite nice to know. Yay. Cool. So yes, I was talking about coin belts, wasn't I? Yeah. Grab a belt or a scarf. If you haven't got a scarf or if you haven't got a coin belt or anything like that, just grab a scarf. It can be a winter woolly scarf. But the important thing is that you pop it around your hip bones. And let me just show you where your hip bones are. Okay, so your hip bones are not your waist. It's a little bit lower down, so it's right here. So where your hip bones are, I promise you, everybody has hip bones. So just push it down a little bit, and this will just help you to feel where your body is really. So if you tie it in a tight knot, so it can be like a double knot there, pushed onto the hip bones, it just helps you to give you that feeling of where they are. Okay, what's the time now? We've got a couple of minutes still. So I'll just have a little ramble on about who I am then. So I'm Fulya. This year I'm celebrating 20 years of teaching dance, which is fabulous. I'm really pleased to be here doing it, although this apocalypse seems to be pushing me out a bit. I was going to have a show on Saturday to celebrate it all 1920s themed, but unfortunately we've had to cancel it. But I am going to try an online thing. So there's various things on Facebook. So please support us if you can. If you do a 20s act or a vintage act or something and you want to send me a video, lynn@cookiekaftan.co.uk is my email address. I'd love to see it. We're thinking about doing a live stream because we have problems with copyright of audio, which is fair enough. Artists need to be paid, etc. But obviously when you're doing live recordings of stuff, it all gets a bit messy. So the music I'm using tonight is all my stuff, so it's probably a bit, bit dull, but at least I don't have to worry about infringing copyright and lawsuits and that kind of thing. So but yeah, the live stream stuff, I'm sure there's a kind of catch where it's not quite applicable, but certainly Facebook has analytical algorithms and things that they catch you if you've got a video and it's got copyrighted music on it. So if we would put together like a live stream, then it should be considered live. I know if it's a recorded video, how can it be considered live? I don't know. Well, you have the copyright worry, not me. That's basically it, really. Sorry. But yeah, I've been trying to deal with copyright for many a year and it's hard, basically. Most people don't care and just get on with it. But being a musician myself, I kind of think I want to pay artists, etc. But it's just difficult because every track is different. Anyway, I'm waffling on about copyright and stuff. So let's have a look at the time. I think we're kind of nearly getting there, actually. Plus, I've got my tea. I've always got my tea. Love my tea. So, yeah, grab your drink of water or tea or anything else. We're going to be starting in about, I don't know, about 30 seconds. I think we've got a bit of a lag, so your 30 seconds might be a bit different to mine, but we're starting soon. Haha, my clock has gone to 7:30. I'm very punctual as a person, so we shall start now. Okay, so let me just check that you can see me. Oh yes, I can see my head, you can see my feet. Wow, that's brilliant. I was quite surprised. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is I'm going to pop some music on and we're going to have a little warm up. Now, with everything that we do this evening, you have to listen to your body. And if you think, no, that's not for me, just don't do it. And as we go along, I will say things like, oh, bad knees, bad backs, be a little bit careful with these. And just watch, just see how it goes. Don't feel you have to do anything. The other thing I always tell people is that I have ME, and the reason I keep dancing is I pace myself, and belly dance is the thing that kind of got me well or out of the house well. So I absolutely love this dance because of that. It's something that people can do, and you can kind of build up your stamina really in quite an effective way, actually. So I went from being housebound to teaching lots of classes. So, you know, over the course of a few years, but yeah, it does work. It's a very, very healing dance, and I love it. So we're going to pop some music on, and we're just going to ease out, really. So let me just pop the music on. Okay, so just some nice drum beats, really. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to look at our beautiful hands as if they're the most beautiful things we've ever seen. And we're going to just gently circle our hands around. So this in itself is not just a warm-up move, it's a move, it's a belly dance move too. So if you put your face into it and just look at your hands like they're the most beautiful things you've ever seen, you're doing two things at once. And then if you're able to, try and go in the other way, but if that doesn't compute, doesn't make sense, it doesn't matter at all. Just move. That's the important thing. So the next thing we're going to try is we're going to think about our shoulders. We're going to roll them. So just gently bringing the shoulders round. Doesn't matter which way. Just getting some warmth into them. And then change direction on that. Take it the other way. Lovely. We're going to think about our feet now. We're just going to gently circle the foot around and then do the same on the other side. Now, if you're thinking this is a little bit hard to balance, an alternative you might like to do is just stand and just think about circling around your ankle instead. So if you were thinking that just stepping from one side to the other like that was a little bit too challenging, it's fine. Just ease out your ankles instead. Same on the other side, and do rotate the other way as well. So I'll continue with this one. And if you're doing this one and you're okay, just think about gently lifting your leg upwards, and this starts to work your hips out a little bit more. Lovely. And now this one, we're going to try going the opposite way. So we bring our leg inwards. If you imagine you're climbing over a fence or climbing over one of those stiles in the country, so just thinking circling inwards. Yeah, I know it's not pretty, is it? But it's good for you. Lovely. We're going to take a pretty wide stance here. We're going to gently twist at the waist and dip at our knees here. So just thinking about sending the knees over your toes, so you can turn the toes outwards a little bit. And we're just dipping down and twisting at the waist to warm up the spine. Lovely. We're going to come back to the spot. We're just going to think about bending into one knee here. We're going to reach up, and as we reach up there, the knee's bending and we're getting a nice stretch down the one side. We're going to switch that. So we bend the knee, we reach the arm up, or we come down on the side there. If that feels okay, you might just like to have a little go at changing just a little bit quicker. So you can feel that stretch one side to the other. Sorry you can't see my arms too much. Over here a little bit, you can see me in the mirror a bit better. Lovely. We shall bring our arms now. We're going to bend our knees and then just come up on our toes. So we've just got this gentle up and down movement. So again, if you don't like this, if coming up on your toes just makes you feel a little bit off balance, your alternative is to think bend the knees and then just come back to the neutral, your neutral position really. So just bending the knees rather than coming up on the toes. But if you're okay to come up on your toes, It gives your calves a good old stretch. Lovely. We're going to take one foot in front of the other, and we're just going to gently rock our weight onto our front foot and then rock our weight to our back foot. As we come forward, just cross your hands. As you come back, just open them out, and this just gives you a nice little chest stretch here. Good stuff. And then all we're going to do is just change the foot that's in front. We're going to do exactly the same again. Nicely done. Okay, I'm going to pause the music here. And we're just going to have a little think about getting on, doing some proper belly dance moves now. We're nicely warmed up. So we're going to think about where our weight is on our feet first of all. So we don't want to have our weight too far forward and we don't want to have our weight too far back. Just try and think about the weight being even on your feet. So feel your toes to the floor and feel your heels to the floor as well. And then just think about bending your knees a little bit here. So we're just softening the knees, taking them off lock. And then your tail, we're just going to allow it to just go downwards here. So we're not pushing the pelvis forward at all. We're just letting the tail just go down to this neutral position, and we're flattening out the lower spine. We're also thinking about just pulling our tummy in just a little bit. So when you pull your tummy in, it doesn't have to be huge, huge amounts. If you think, pull it in as much as you can, release it by half and release it by half again, that's all you need. And then if we just think about the top, we're going to roll our shoulders up, back and down. So this lifts our chest up a little bit and makes our back actually start working a little bit, so it supports our shoulders. And we're going to think about our crown of the head. So this is this top part here, leading up towards the ceiling. Lovely. We're going to think about those nice soft knees, and we're going to think tending those hips out across from side to side next. So this is one of our belly dance isolations that if you decide to take up belly dance, you'll end up doing all the time because it's really, really good for you. And it just helps your body move, basically, helps you get in line with this. So if we think about making a straight line with our hips to the side, you can hold your rib cage if you like for this as well, because sometimes it just feels like everything wants to go. So popping your hands there just helps your brain to know what your body's doing. So we're holding our rib cage in space, we're sending our hips across and to the side, and then across and to the other side. So normally at this point, I'd say that looks fabulous, but because I'm looking at a video of myself, then that's just a little bit bizarre, really. So anyway, the idea is thinking about sending it across from side to side and keeping this top really, really still. So I tend to imagine like I'm hanging on a coat hanger. The top half of me is hanging on a coat hanger, and like the trousers are just moving from side to side of their own accord. There's a kind of doll that does this kind of movement as well. So you could have a little think of that. So what's happening here is that the muscles that wrap around, they're called obliques. They're pulling your hips from side to side. And we're just keeping that top nice and still. And this is called a hip slide. Okay, so we've done that for long enough. Let's think about dividing the body in half the other way and come up top. So again, we want to think soft knees, tail down, pulling the tummy in, rolling the shoulders back slightly. And this time we're going to hold on to our hips and we're going to send the torso across from side to side. So the hips want to stay nice and still, and the hands being there just help with that. And we're just sending that torso across, and just have a little think about your shoulders. They don't actually need to be working as you're doing this. So if they're lifting up and coming across to the side, you're basically putting too much effort in. So just think about relaxing your shoulders and just thinking again about these muscles that wrap around your stomach here, your obliques, pulling your torso across from side to side. Lovely, and that's our rib cage slide there. Good stuff. We're going to have a little think about doing some hip circles next. So with a hip circle, we want to push our hips forward. So the weight comes onto the balls of the feet. We push out to the side, out to the side there. We then pull the tummy in as we take our hips to the back, and we come to the other side now. So we're effectively drawing 4 points. So like a compass, we come to the front, we come around to the side, we pull the tummy in, we come back to the back there, and then we come to the other side. And then all we want to do is just knock the corners off, so we make this nice big hip circle all the way around our feet here. Now, if you're limited in mobility, you might want to make this a little bit smaller there. So just thinking a smaller hip circle instead is absolutely fine. Now, you may be wondering what to do with your hands. So a little pose like this to the side is perfectly good. But if you feel like you want to have a little bit more extra in, you could imagine that you have a plate of sandwiches and you're at a party and you're offering your sandwiches around with your hips. So you're just thinking circling forward with your hips, offering the cheese and pickle. And then just as somebody's about to take a sandwich, you just take your hips around the other way. I know, it's an old joke. All my other students will be watching this going, oh God, she's still using that. Oh yes. Old ones are good ones. Lovely. So we're doing our hip circle and we're offering a plate of sandwiches around. So if we have a little think about coming into the upper body next, we're going to think about isolating the top half. So keeping the hips nice and still. And we're just going to lean to the side here. So just think about dropping one shoulder down and allowing this side to get nice and long. So you'll feel that this side will stretch. So only coming over as far as is comfortable, but you'll find that if you just stay here, it'll just get a little bit more. You'll get more of a stretch the longer you stay there. And then we'll just do the same on the other side. So we're just coming to the side. Think about the weight of your arm pulling you down rather than forcing yourself down at all. And we're just lengthening through that side. So if we think about our slide, we came across from side to side. And what we want to do now is just allow a little bit of a lift as we come over to the side, and then we drop it down. So we're lifting on this side already. We're coming across to the side and we're dropping down. So if I just keep my arms to the side here, hopefully you can see this over figure 8 motion. So imagine the figure 8 on its side like an infinity sign, and we're coming up, over and down. Now, if you're wondering what to do with your hands, the best thing to do is just think about the elbow and just rotate the forearm out from the elbow. We can do the same with the other side. So just thinking about circling the arm out and to the side so that when you lift, slide over and come down, your arm rotates and circles with you. And then on the other side. So just check in with your knees here, make sure they've not locked themselves, just soften the knees a little bit, make sure your tummy is just a little bit toned, just to keep yourself safe. That's looking good. Safe in terms of posture is what I mean, really. Lovely. So here we have an over figure 8, which we're doing in our torso. Lovely. So doing moves without music can feel very, very odd. So we're just going to pop a little bit of music on and just do those moves with the music. So we have our drums again. So if we think, pull that tummy in, soften the knees, tail down, and then sending your hips from side to side. So we have our hip slide, first of all, keeping the top as still as we can. So you may notice here that I've added in some hands. I'm showing off what my hips are doing with my hands. So this is a little bit more advanced, really. So if you're a complete beginner, you may just want to be holding on to your rib cage there, just to help that move. And then we're going to change that. So you might want to bring your hands down to your hips and just do our rib cage slide now. Lovely. And let's take that into an over. So we're circling over and down. Very nice. And let's take it into a hip circle. Offering around your sandwiches if you can. If you don't want to do that though, hands on your hips, just help your brain know what your body's doing. And then when you're ready, just try taking the circle the other way, but don't worry if your brain doesn't compute that just yet. It can take a little while to get used to going different ways. Very, very nice indeed. Okay, so back to the overs. the hip slide. And the ribcage slide. So an alternative hand position can be just having the hands out to the side here. Although if you think your hips are going, just pop them back down to your hips. Lovely. We shall pop a few more moves in the mix next. So I'm just going to turn my back to you for a second. It's not being rude. It's just slightly easier usually to follow this. We're going to draw a figure 8. So feet are hip width, knees are soft, tail is down, tummy is engaged. We twist the hip on the diagonal and we take the hip out to the side and round to the back. Now when that's happened, the opposite hip is now facing the diagonal and it pushes out to the side and it goes around to the back. So you're standing in the loops of your figure 8 and you're drawing them around your feet. And if you think of your center of your 8 as being your belly button here. So if I just turn around so you can see the front view now, just thinking pushing the hip out to the side, around to the back. Now the hands that I'm doing are just a little gentle circle, pushing the hips back and round there. So this is a backward figure 8. Now, like the circle, it can go the other way, but we're not going to worry too much about that. And if you happen to be going the other way, it really doesn't matter. Lovely. So that is our backward 8. A couple of things to note with these. Try to keep your toes pressed into the floor. And if you're finding that your ankles are turning over as you're doing this movement, just try moving your feet a little bit, either inwards or outwards. And it can be as little as millimeters, but it can have a massive, massive effect. So if your ankles are really rolling and your toes are coming off the floor, just adjust your position to just find somewhere that's nice and comfortable for you. Okay, we're also going to have a little look at doing a lunge. Now, whenever we do lunges, we always make sure that the knee stays behind the toes because we just don't want to injure our knees, really. So if I show you straight off, I'm just going to I'll show you from the side, bring my foot forward. Now, you can either keep your heel down or if you prefer, you can raise your heel off the floor. But we want to just make sure that that knee stays behind the toes there. The weight has come forward slightly. And then we just bring it back in line. So I'll just show you that again on this side. So I'm just stepping forward and I bring the weight forward a little bit and then I'm coming back in line. And I'll do the same with the other foot now. So I'm coming forward, weight comes forward onto the front foot and I bring the foot in line. So I'm trying to keep the knee above the ankle there and not push any further than that really, particularly not beyond the toes because then you're in injury territory and we don't want that. Lovely. So it's a big, bold movement. This is a little borrowed from flamenco, really. Flamenco and belly dance have an awful lot of crossover roots. So the great thing about belly dance actually is there are many, many, many styles of it. And that's part of why I love it so much. And you can fuse it with all sorts of things because it's been around for so long, but it's all traditional because it's all been done before, really. Okay, so with our lunge coming forward, we're going to have a little circle with our wrist. So what I'm doing here is I'm just taking my hands around and out, and then I'm going to bring my hand back into my hip. So I'm just thinking hand comes forward, I circle around, and then I bring it into my hip. I'll show you from here. I circle the hand outwards and bring it into my hip. I circle my hand outwards, and then I bring it into my hip. If you're feeling fancy, or if you know some flamenco, you may just want to think about picking up a grape with your second finger and your thumb, and then just circling around, releasing the grape, and then thinking about pulling your fingers in one at a time. So from your little finger, as we bring the hand into the hip, we're just thinking about stretching the fingers out and pulling them in. So we circle around, we pick up our grape with the first finger and the second finger, we release the grape, and then we count the fingers back into our hip. We do the same on the other side. So outward rotation, bringing the fingers in and to the hip there. Outward rotation, bringing the fingers into the hip, same on the other side. Lovely. Okay. So if I show you face on then with the lunge, as I lunge forward, my hand comes out, I circle the wrist round, and as I bring my weight back, I'm counting my fingers in. As I lunge forward, I circle my wrist round. As I come back, I'm counting the fingers in. So I have this little lunge and bring it in, a little lunge and I bring it in. Lovely. Okay, we're going to have a little look at a move which stands us on one leg. So bad hips, knees and backs, just be a little bit wary with this. We're bringing one foot in front of the other, and if I show you from the side, my heel is lifted as I do this. And my supporting knee, which is the back leg there, is softening. So it's nice and bent. And I'm going to think about using my waist to lift my hip up in the joint. So I'm thinking about the waist doing the work really. You can also squeeze your bum a little bit if you like with this, and then we allow the hip to just drop down. So you're thinking, let gravity do its job. Think about your hip being a hammer and just allowing that to come down. Now, just make sure that you're not bending and straightening on the back leg as you do this. Try and keep that seated position, that nice soft knee. So it's the hip swinging up in the joint and then coming down like so. So the downside of that is you will feel this quite acutely in your thigh fairly, very quickly. So just switch to the other side. So we bring the foot forward slightly, we soften into the supporting knee, and we're thinking lifting that hip up and bringing it down. So you can lift from the waist, you can also squeeze a bit from your bum to help with that. And think about gravity pulling you downwards. Okay, so a couple of things to watch. Make sure that you're not lifting and lowering your heel at the same time as you do this. It just takes the eye away from the hip really. So if I keep my heel lifted, it draws the attention here. If I'm dropping the heel, you kind of lose the emphasis. Okay, switch across to the other side as well. So soften that supporting knee. And you will probably find that one side is just so much easier than the other side. It's just the way we're built, I'm afraid. Humans are like that. So yeah, one side might be nice and easy, the other side really hard. So practice, what can I say? It does help me so much. Lovely. Okay, so that is called a hip drop. So with a hip drop, we could think about doing a beautiful arm. Again, I'll just come over here. You might just be able to see me a little bit more in the mirror here. So I'm just bringing my arm up into this S-shape position really. So my arms aren't dead straight. They're slightly bent at the elbows. And my hand is just drawing again the attention to the hip. So if I bring my foot forward, think about lifting the hip up in the joint. So it's closest hand to the hip as you do this. The thing with belly dance though is if you happen to be doing the hands like that, it's not wrong at all. It doesn't kind of draw the eye as much as we'd like it to, but it's your improvisation, so it doesn't matter. So don't worry about it being wrong. It's not about like Indian dance where if you happen to say something wrong with your hands, you could offend people. Please don't worry about that. So belly dance is very much about pretty shapes and things, and it's less about telling stories, if that makes sense. Okay, so if we try it with the other side, so one foot in front of the other, soften the supporting knee. Although, of course, you can tell stories with belly dance. Don't let me make you think that you can't. Lovely, so that's our hip drop. Now, in that same stance, we can also do a circular movement on our hip. So again, we want to take one foot slightly in front of the other and soften into the supporting knee here. Keep that tummy pulled in. And we're thinking about now the hip bone as being a pencil, which lifts, draws up, back, down and round. So when I'm doing this, my supporting knee does need to straighten and bend a little bit to help with what's going on in the hip here. So I'm just thinking lifting up, coming up, back, down and around, lifting up, coming up, back, down and around. I tend to call this a half hip circle. Belly dance, again, it doesn't have specific names for moves. Lots of teachers have different names for the same moves. So it can be a little confusing, but that's half of the issue of why it's been around for so long. There's lots of names for it. Lovely, we can try the same on the other side. One foot in front of the other, soften the supporting knee, and we're using that hip to lift us up, back, down and round. And you can see here my knees, they are bending and straightening to allow this circular movement to happen. So if it helps, you could think about a wheel and think about that wheel reversing. Okay, I'm going to put a little bit of music on so we can have a little bit of a revise of those movements. And I'm going to show you a little choreography as well. So if you've got some water to hand, have a sip of water. I certainly need one. Okay, it's my drums again. So we'll think about our backward figure 8. So we have those pencils on the hips. We push out to the side, we come out and round to the back. We push out to the side and come round to the back. So we're drawing the figure 8 around our feet. And then we're thinking of the 8 that's over on its side, that's in the torso. So keep your knees soft to allow you to think about sliding across to the side, then coming up and over. And we're rotating through the elbow out and to the side. Let's have a little think about our hip drop, one foot in front of the other, soften the supporting knee, and we're thinking lift the hip, firmly drop that down. When you're ready, change to the other side, raise the heel, think lifting that hip up, supporting knee needs to stay nice and soft. We have our nice little S-shaped arms, but if your arms get tired, just bring them down, it's fine. We had our hip circle as well, so circling around, thinking about offering your sandwiches. And then taking that around the opposite way now. And back to the hip drop position with the foot slightly forward, knee lift, heel lifted, sorry. Thinking about circling the hip up, back, down and round. We can have the same arms we did for the hip drop. So imagining a wheel turning backwards. And on the other side. Now, we haven't looked at shimmies yet, so we're going to have a little bit of a look at the shimmy. We're going to think about our knees. If I show you from the side, one knee comes forward, one knee goes back, and we're looking at increasing the speed on that. So it starts off in the bones, but it very quickly comes out of the bones. It goes into your wobbly bits, and that's what you want. You want it to just let it all hang out and have a good old shimmy here. So if your thighs are slapping together, you're doing the right thing. And I know it can feel really, really odd if you're not used to doing this. Now we can allow this to travel all the way up the body, and we can just let the rest of the body go as well. So it's kind of more of an earthquake kind of shimmy, this one. We're just letting everything go. So rather than isolating, we're just thinking, wobble it all. Fabulous. Okay, we're ready to try our little choreography then. Okay, we are going to start on the spot. Feet hip width, knee soft, tail down, tummy engaged, rolling the shoulders up, back and down. And when you hear the music, we're going to think about the shimmy we were just looking at. So you can allow yourself to move your top a little bit, allow yourself to send the knees backwards and forward. Just let everything go. Kind of really quite an abandoned shimmy, this one. Lovely. We're then going to go into doing some backward figure 8s. So if we start on our right side, we're just going to think about going out to the side and round to the back. So I am mirroring you, thinking about the right hip starting out, back and round. We're going to do 8 of those, and then we're going to think about coming over and to the side. So we're thinking about our over figure 8s. Again, we'll be starting to the right. Don't worry too much about lefts and rights. It really doesn't matter. I'll turn around in a second and hopefully it'll make a little bit more sense. And we're then going to cross our hands, pull them apart, cross them again, and pull them apart again. So we just have this quick around and through. So if I just show you again, and it's slow motion this time. So the hands start off here. We cross them, pull them apart, cross them again, out, around and down. I'll show you the back view on all of that now. So we start off with our shimmies, so just letting everything go. And then we're thinking of doing a backward figure 8. We're pushing the hip out to the side. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. We come into our overs. 2, 3, and 4. And then we have this cross of the arms. We bring them up, over, out and down. And that's our first verse. I'll pop the music on, we'll do that together. So we're shimmying as soon as you hear the music. Just let it all hang out and wobble. Backward figure eights. Push your right hip back. Now your left. Right, left, right, left, right, and left. We're coming over to the right. 3 and 4. And now we're crossing our arms. We're coming up and to the side, down. Lovely. So that's our first verse. So our next verse, we're going to have a little think about doing that lunge that we spoke about and did earlier. So we're coming forward. You can either have your foot flat or you can have your heel lifted. And we're thinking about the hands circling out and then pulling the fingers back in. So we come forward, we circle round, we come back in. We're going to have 4 of these. Again, we're starting on the right side to do this. And when we've done the 4, we're just going to gently circle our wrists around. Look at them longingly if you like. When you get to about here, you can't look at both of them, unfortunately. And then just bring it out and round. So that's the second verse, basically. So I'll do that for you again. We're lunging forward. You can have your hand on your hip if you like, or towards your hip, actually. In belly dance, we don't tend to touch our hips. So we're circling out. We're coming back. We bring our hands in towards the hip. We come out, round. We bring the hands back in towards the hip. So we have 4 of these. And then we're rotating the wrists, looking longingly at our hands, and then taking them out and round to the sides. So we'll do the first verse and we shall add that on. Shimmies again. Backward figure 8. So thinking about your posture there. Feet about hip width, pushing the hips back and round. 7 and 8. Bringing the shoulders over, arms over to the sides. And then crossing the hands. We're doing our lunge. We're coming forward, rotating the wrist if you can. Lunging forward and in. And then we're looking longingly at our beautiful hands. Bring them round. Lovely. We've got one more verse. So with our next verse, we are thinking about doing a turn. So I will do the turn away from you first of all, because otherwise it gets a little bit confusing. It's only a half turn. It's not a particular spin or anything, but it can be a little bit odd if you're not great with your left and right. So don't worry too much. So if I stand here, I'm just going to cross my left foot over my right. And then I open out with my right foot, which just allows me to turn a little bit. I take my left foot behind me, and then I'm raising the heel on my right foot. So now I'm going to come back. So I'm just stepping onto my right foot. I'm taking my left foot to the side, and then the right foot comes behind, and I'm just raising the heel on my left. So I'm essentially turning my profile to my audience. So the audience is my corner here. And I'm thinking stepping onto the left foot, open, round to the side, raising the heel, and then coming back, stepping onto the right, open, behind, and raising the heel. If you're feeling flash, each time we get to this position, you'll realize that it's that hip drop position. So you may want to just bring your arms into that pose that we did. So when I've got my left side facing that way, so facing away from you, my left hand is down. I bring my right hand down as I turn, and I'm bringing my left hand up. My right hand is down here. Now, if you feel okay, raise your hip and think about dropping it down. So we have step, open, behind, raise the heel, and we add that little drop on. Step, open, behind, and as we're settling into it, we put that drop in. So it's step, open, behind, drop, step, open, behind, and drop. And we do 4 of these. So our last one ends us on the left side. And when we get to here, we're going to do that half hip circle. So the left side lifts up, down, and round. And then we're just going to think about turning back to the front and doing some figure some hip circles round. We'll have 3 of those, and then the whole thing will start all over again. So we'll just give it a little go, see how we do. Starting from the top again, shimmies. So back and round with your figure 8s. Overs with your torso. Cross your hands. Lunging forward. Circle the hands around, lunge forward. And look at your hands longingly. We're doing the turn, so we cross left, step right, take the left foot behind and the hip drop if you want to put it in, or you can pose instead if you prefer. So this is the last one. We have our drop and then we'll circle back around. 2, 3 and 4. Turn to the front, circling in your hips. 2, 3, we go back to the figure 8, push round. Overs in your torso. And crossing your hands. Lunges forward. Looking at your hands longingly. Turning, so step left, open right, behind left, raise the heel, hip drop. Step right, turn left, step behind, raise the heel and hip drop. Step left, right, left, raise the heel and drop. And again. And then the circle round. So this time I'm just going to face forward so that I can do this with you, but I will be mirroring you this time, so you might get slightly confused. So we're pushing back on the right hip. Or I might get confused. And then we're thinking over, so starting on your right. And then crossing the hands. We have our lunges next. We're coming forward with the left, with the right, sorry. Now the left. And looking longingly at your hands. I'll turn this way to do the walk. So we have the cross, the open, the behind, and the drop. Cross, open, behind, and drop. We're actually coming up to the end now. So at the end, we're going to do 3 of the half hip circles, and then we're going to turn and pose. So we have 1, 2, 3, turn to the front, pose. And there you go. That is your choreography for your taster session. So we're coming up to the end of the class, so I'm going to cool you down now. So again, we just want to think about easing into our body, so just gentle shoulder circles this time. And then if you're able to do the circle round on the floor, do that. Otherwise, do your ankle rotation instead. I'm going to turn this down. Okay, we're going to stand in dance posture. Our feet are hip width, we soften the knees, tail down, engage your tummy. Bring your arm in front of your body, hold just above the elbow, and hopefully you can feel a stretch to your shoulder and have a little bit of a wriggle. And we'll bring it down, same on the other side. Arm across, holding just above the elbow, feeling that stretch into the shoulder. I'll show you the back view. And then we'll bring it down. So this time, if you can reach, rest your hand on your shoulder. If not, just take it as far as is comfortable. But if you can reach wrist on the shoulder and just push back with your hand, again, I'm going to turn it down. And then bring that down. Let's do the same on the other side. So rest the hand. And then we're going to ease that down. So bringing your hand to your hip, we're going to reach the arm up. Take it over the top of the head and look to feel that stretch into your side there. From here, we'll bring that down. Same on the other side. Hand on your hip, reach the arm up. Come over the top of your head there. And then bring it down. So keeping your knees soft, we're just going to hug a tree here. If your neck's okay, you can bring your head down. So feel a little bit of a stretch to the back of the neck as well as between your shoulder blades. If you'd rather not do that, just look ahead. And then from there, we're just bringing the hands behind us. So you can either interlink or just place your hands on your bottom. Circle your shoulders back just once so you get a nice stretch across your chest. And then gently releasing. We're going to do some leg stretches now. They're a balance class, and at any point if you need to, grab a chair, put it near you if you need it. We're taking a step behind here. Now the back leg is going to raise up onto the ball of the foot. We're bending the knees and we're tilting the pelvis just a little bit forward, and hopefully you'll feel it engage in your thigh there, so you get a nice stretch in that back thigh. If you're uncomfortable, just bring your heel down at any point. Bringing the heel down now, we gently transfer the weight forward, so you should start to feel a stretch into the back of that back leg there. And here again, you want to be able to see your toes as well. We're going to step our back foot in. We're going to raise the toes on the front foot, pull the tummy in, hinge forward at the hips. So the weight comes onto the back leg here. We're getting a nice stretch down the front, down the back of the front leg, so into your calf and your hamstrings. And again, it depends how far you can come over. So if you want to go further down, you can here. Then we're just going to step our weight forward, bring the back foot in, and then just bend into both knees here. So we're just bringing that foot forward slightly, so we're getting a nice stretch to that back leg. And then we're going to march that out. Let's do the same on the other side. So we want to take our foot behind, raise the heel, bend the knee, tilt the pelvis, feeling the stretch to your thigh here. So again, if you're feeling uncomfortable, just bring that heel down. And now we'll bring the heel down so we can stretch the back leg. So we just bring the weight forward a little bit, feeling the stretch into the calf of the back leg now. And then we're going to step our back foot in slightly. We're going to raise the toes on the front foot, pull the tummy in, hinge forward at the hips. So your weight's on the bent leg, don't have it on the straight one here, and only coming over as far as you're comfortable with. And when we come up to straight, we're just stepping the back foot in a little bit here. So we're going to bend both knees so the weight's to the back heel here. So this just gives the other calf muscle a stretch too. And we'll march that out. Okay, we're going to do a few back stretches. If you need to not do them, that's fine. First one's quite gentle. So if you're okay, we're thinking tucking the tail, bringing the hands to the thighs, and this just supports you as you round into that lower back there. So your knees need to be nice and soft, try not to lock them back. And then if you feel all right to continue, you can bend the knees a bit more, bring the hands down. They're not on the knees, they're above the knees, and we're just pushing our belly down so we hollow into the back. And then from there, just arch the center of your back up and towards the ceiling. Press down to the floor, hollow out in your back again. And then arching upwards and towards the ceiling. So from here, release your arch. You can either come up vertebra by vertebra, thinking of your head coming up last of all, or you can bend your knees, come forward, let your head and neck relax, and just get a little bit more of a back stretch into the lower back and into the back of your legs. And again, if you're okay, just bring your hands round so that they're just coming to the side of your ankle, and this will give you a little bit of a hip stretch. And then round to the other side when you're ready. And then we want to come back to the center, draw your tummy to your spine, take your time, ease yourself up vertebra by vertebra. We just do it really slowly so you don't get dizzy. Once you make it up to the top, roll out to your shoulders. So there you go. I shall come back and have a little seat with you. I'll get a cup, get me a drink as well. So yes, drink some water. So hopefully you enjoyed that. I quite enjoyed it. It's nice to be dancing again. It's been really awful not being able to go and do my classes. I intend to do a couple more kind of free taster sessions. So I want to do a burlesque one and a flamenco one. Just kind of stay tuned. If you are on my mailing list, or if you're not on my mailing list, go to my website, which is www.kookycaftan.co.uk, and I will send you info about any free tasters that I'm doing. I also do one-to-one sessions on Skype or Facebook. So if you wanted a one-to-one session with me, I would love to see you. So if you're interested in the 20th event too, that's taking place on Saturday. Thank you again. I'm going to end the stream here. Have a good evening.